Good question. One more question, and then I'm going to try to give y'all a break. All right. Deuteronomy 23:7, it says, when it says not to hate Esau, what is the difference between the thought of hate and praying for destruction upon them? Just wanted to make sure my thoughts don't turn to hate. How do I separate the two? All right, good. Good question, right? Now, we are commanded not to hate Esau, right? Go to it. Deuteronomy 23:7.
Yes, sir.
Right? Now, hating him and praying for his destruction are not the same, right? Because, well, let's get into it. Read verse 7.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 23, verse 7.
Read.
Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite.
Meaning hate an Edomite. Read.
For he is thy brother.
He's our brother. Right, we don't hate him. We couldn't. Right, we don't hate him. We couldn't.
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Recha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors as well to you, brethren, you fellow believers of this truth, and shalom to the elect. So I want to go back again on this Deuteronomy 23:7. I remember a while ago, and Elder Apostle Tahar did a video on that, going into what abhor actually meant, and then he did another video yesterday off a video that I just did here. But it seems like, as we say, it's only for the elect. But I want to go on a couple of other things as well. Some things some years back, the Elder Apostle Ramla went into as well, and it just seems like no matter what you do, people are going to believe what they're going to believe. And I'm going to read a comment off this brother. I thought I had it up. I'm going to read a comment off this brother who left a comment. I thought he was one of the IUICs because it sounded like that kind of name, but you got to really look at read the comments. I didn't have my glasses and I saw that name and thought he was instantly scoffing. So somebody here, SOP Israelites. Okay, just like feminism, the worst part of feminism is the men. It's not so much the women, it's the men. The men are supporters of that. As far as in the truth, it's Israelites that's supportive of saving the nations. SOP Israelites, Matthew 45:43, ye have heard that it said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. Matthew 5:44, but I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you. Okay, and pray for them that despitefully use you and persecute you. So I left a comment that says, when I read the comment, I said that's talking about Israelites. And then he says, heathens aren't our enemies. Yeah, right. That's what he says. So I wasn't even going to do this. So let's go to Matthew. Let's go to Mark. I don't think people watch the video. I don't know. Let's go to Mark 12. Mark 12:29. Let me get the KJV. Mark 12:29. And one of the scribes came, and having heard them reason together, and perceiving that they had answered them well, and asked them, which is the first commandment of all? And Yahushua answered him, it says Jesus, the first of all commandments is, hear, O Israel, the Lord our Lord is one Lord, and thou shalt love thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, and with all thy strength. Right? That is the first commandment. Right? And it goes on to say, and the second is like, namely this. Right? It says, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There's none other commandment greater than these. So when you read this in Matthew 40, what is it? Matthew, when he quoted that, I guess that's what he's saying. I'm not sure. I get so many comments that says weird things. Ye have heard in the time said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, and do them, do good to them that hate you. Which is clearly, when you go to the Bible, it's talking about Israelites all day long. But here I'm going to go to Malachi Obadiah, which I kind of thought he was from the IUIC, the brothers from IUIC. It says Psalms 119, 163. Hate and abhor, two different meanings, right? Hate in H8130, right? Hate, to be hateful, to be enemy, foe, abhor. H8581, abhor, abominable, detest. Syrian, he put Syrian, and I guess he was responding to SOP Israelites as well. Yeah, I didn't know that. Heathens aren't our enemies. Okay, that's a kind of a whole new video because it's turning away from what I want to get into. So we're gonna go to Psalms 52 and 1. Psalms 52 and 1, to the chief musician, the Psalm of David. This is what I want to show. It says, when Doeg the Edomite came and told Saul and said unto him, David is come to the house of Abimelech, right? Ahimelech. Why boastest thyself in mischief, O mighty man? O goodness of God endureth. So when I scroll down here, and it says, let me go up here. It says, Doeg, with Doeg the Edomite. So I go down here. This is why I'm sharing the screen. You know, I did a copy right here. I copied it. And then I go over here into the English translation. And this is, let's see what it says. It says, when Doeg the Edomite, right, came. So we'll see Doeg the Edomite from the translation. So when I go to 1 Samuel, it says, and David said to Abiathar, I knew in that day when Doeg the Edomite was there that he would surely tell Saul. So we scroll down here where it says Doeg the Edomite. We copy that, and you know, this is from the Lexicon Septuagint. So then we go back and we do another translation. Let's see what it says. I just wanted to show you. It says, and David said to Abiathar, they saw that day that Doeg the Syrian, that is the messenger, is telling Saul, I am the cause of the souls of your father's house. Right? So we see in Psalms 51, it says Doeg the Edomite, but this is also what I found because I like going into the older Bibles. Psalms 52 and 1, it says, why boastest thyself, thou tyrant, and thou canst do mischief? It doesn't even mention the word Doeg the Edomite, right? We'll see in this Bible of 1382, I like going into this Bible, the title of the two and filth title of David, the Psalm of David, that's what it's saying. This is Old English. Overcomer of the by, the queer, and the lineage of David. The unwise man said in his heart, God is not. You know where it says the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are abominable and corrupt. So this is something that we've seen, I believe, in Psalms 53 and 1. Right? So let's go to Psalms 53 and 1 and see what it says there. Maybe they switched it. I don't know. So, you know, when you go into the older Bibles, it never even mentioned that particular verse. It says something totally different. Right? So I just wanted to show that real quick. Right? So now we're going to go into what is called, this is called virtual yeshiva discussion forums. Virtual yeshiva, this says yeshiva, online resource for Jewish education responded to missionary groups. So one of the questions was Deuteronomy 23 and 7 mistranslated? This is what they said. Somebody asked, actually referred, somebody said, does Deuteronomy 23 actually refer to Arameans rather than Edomites? So bear with me, I'm going to read a little of this. It says, you must not hate an Edomite, for he is your relative. You must not hate an Egyptian, for he is for you were foreigners in his land. Right? So when we look at Egyptian, like Moses' son was Gershom, which meant I've been a stranger in a strange land. Right? Children of a third generation born to them may enter the assembly of the Lord. It says, no other tribe, right here, it says, no other tribe of people is the object of much condemnation as Edom. So it is natural to wonder why Edomites would ever be allowed to enter the congregation. It says here, here we finally have confirmation from the NET, so as that Edomites were sometimes confused with Arameans or Aramites. I think I had it up, another translation that said Deuteronomy 23:7 was Aramean. So some of them knew, right? But we're going to go back to this article real quick. But first we're going to read let's see what it says in the article. 2 Kings 16:6. At that time King Rezin of Syria recovered Elat for Syria. So let's go to 2 Kings 16:6. It says, at that time Rezin king of Aram recovered Eloth for Aram, drove out men of Judah, and sent the Edomites into Eloth, where they live to this day. Right? So we go back here to what they were saying. Again, this is the Jewish scholar text. And for some of you who have a problem with that, you know, believe it or not, Esau is the one that had the information, right? Which the Lord allowed him to have, and for us to wake up and get and further, you know, go into it, right? 2 Kings 16:6. At that time, King Rezin of Syria recovered Elat of Syria. He drove out the Judahites, the Judites, Salakia, from there, Syrians 11 arrived. It says Syrians arrived in Elat and live there to this very day. So even in this text, it says Ahaz sent messengers to King Tiglath-Pileser, I guess is how you pronounce it, of Assyria, saying, I am your servant and your dependent. March up and rescue me from the power, king of Assyria and the king of Israel, who have attacked me. And it goes on. I was just going to read a little more. Then it goes on to say, some prefer to read the king of Edom for Edom here. The name Syria, Aram, right, and Edom, Adam, are easily confused in the Hebrew. What's that? Consonantal. I had to look this word up. Consonantal, relating to being marked by consonant, a group of consonants, being in agreement of a harmony. I don't know why they just didn't say that. But the consonantal agreement of the medieval Hebrew, MSS, the Syriac version, which we've seen that happen in the book of Job, if I'm not mistaken, when it said Job, and when they were saying Job was an Edomite or whatever. And some Targum and the Vulgate read Syrians, okay, Hebrew, Arameans, marginalized reading Quer, supported by the lexicon Targums of Vulgate, read Edomites. So when you go back in time, it was all Latin. You had Martin Luther, Euphrasis or something like that. I can't remember his name. You begin with E. Eumathris or Euphrasis. I can't remember his name. I paused it to look this up. His name was Erasmus, right? You know, you had St. Jerome earlier, then you had Erasmus around the time of Martin Luther, who did want to translate, from what I understand, from what I read, they did want to translate the Apocrypha, but he couldn't. You know, he had an issue with it. You had various people in that time who had mistranslations. I believe he was the one that did the Trinity, or took out the Trinity. I can't remember which one, and they made him put it back. You know, so you had a lot going on. You had Eusebius, Marcinius, quite a few that I can remember who didn't want the Old Testament in. They wanted to just keep the New Testament in. So it's our job to search these things out. So anyway, I want to go back. I want to go back here and close this out. Where am I at? I want to go back to Deuteronomy 23. Now what I want to look at is the precepts, right? Deuteronomy 23:7, thou shalt not abhor the Edomite, where it says here, Exodus 22, you must not exploit or oppress a foreign resident, for you yourselves were foreigners in the land of Egypt. Again, we can see that this is talking about an Israelite. Now, our people was calling themselves Assyrians, just like we call ourselves many other things, right? But we was calling ourselves after those different names, right? Here we go. This is the one I read all the time. You must treat, this is not the translation I use, but you must treat a foreigner living among you, native born, and love him as yourself, for you are foreigners in the land of Egypt. So that tells you that. So what I want to get to is Obadiah 1:10. Thou shalt not detest an Edomite, right? But look what happened. Look what Obadiah says. Let's go to Obadiah 1:10. That's what I want to read. 1:10. It says, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. And the day that thou stoodest on the other side, and the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, right, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. But thou should have not had looked on the day of thy brother, right, and the day that he became a stranger. Neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in a day of distress, right? And it says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, right? So even if you look at it this way and say, okay, don't at the time, don't detest the Edomite, don't abhor Edomite. Well, what did Esau do, right? A lot of you Christians go to Genesis 12, when it says, we shall bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee. Did they not bring hell on the Israelites? And Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, all these things that were done. So now we're in the time. So you're going to tell me in the time, and this is what this group is saying, you can not hate him but still wish his downfall. So I don't understand that. Again, how does that work? So in all hell, when it's time to take and get back our rightful rulership, you're going to say, yeah, we still love you though. We don't hate you. But take the whip. That doesn't make sense. And you praying for somebody's destruction is hate. These guys, as I said before, they all about this side of the world, right? They are ashamed of the gospel of Yahushua. That's why they can't even say the name Yahushua. This is how sad it is, man. The scripture says, separate yourselves from the heathen man. Don't be as they, don't do as they do. But you hear, you see, this is exactly what's going on. He says, not to, you can't have wives, but until Isaiah 4:1, you can have them. So you're not supposed to hate Esau until the time of hating, then you can hate him. See, he thinks he's slick. The General Nate think he's going to skate around and try to appease this man Edom in his system and saying it's okay because they don't really believe it's coming. I don't think so. Right? But Sirach 23:19, I believe, says, such the way of the eyes is in men. The Lord's eyes are 10,000 times brighter than the sun. Anyway, that's all I have on that. Hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom.